Hello everyone. Today we have a small interview with Jack talking about his book about bike. Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. You?
I'm fine.
Uh,
You?
Of course I'm fine.
Another professional interview from Edgeverse.
Yeah.
Cutting edge stuff.
Need to be something short and oh sorry, I don't supposed to do it.
You're not supposed to touch me. No, we're not married. We're not married. This is sexual abuse. This is what happens in Hollywood. But I thought we could be a bit more professional here. But okay, you can touch me. Can I touch you?
No. You're not allowed.
That's pretty typical of married life.
Okay. Can you tell me about the book, Those Two Idiots?
Those Two Idiots. Yes, it's a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's about it?
It's a book about motorcycles. It's a book about two idiots who went through 23 countries by motorcycle from London to Thailand, and one of them carried on to Australia, but that wasn't me. So yeah, we went halfway around the world by motorcycle through 5 war zones, different cultures, 3 continents. We had a great time doing it.
Why do you start doing it?
Why did I go travelling? That's a good question. I lived in London, and London is a very difficult place to live. Very expensive, very difficult to find work, really hard to find work. I was unemployed for a long time. Was made redundant, which means my job disappeared, and I was struggling. I ended up with depression. I ended up with serious mental health issues. Not serious. I mean, let's not overstate it. Some people are a lot worse off. I had problems, and I decided that nothing was going to change unless I changed my life.
Yeah.
So I went to see a doctor, and he said to me, "Yeah, you've got these options. You've got this drug or this drug." I said, "I don't want to do that. I know that the problem is my situation, and I need to make a change." And I realised that I had to make the change. So
Okay.
I decided to go travelling. I thought travelling would be the best option for me. And at my core, I'm a huge motorcycle fan. So I knew that when I went travelling, it would be on the back of a bike. So that's what prompted me to get off my arse and get on my arse on a motorbike and get out of London.
So when you travel by bike,
I did, yeah.
and it's come in mind that last night I saw a man that traveled with a bike and then with a very big suitcase
A big
behind.
suitcase, yeah. I saw that picture, yeah. I'd already travelled around Europe. Getting ready for this journey, I travelled all around Europe, Eastern Europe. I went through a dozen or so countries to get myself ready. First of all, I chose the bike. That took years, literally years. Got myself ready for it, practiced on and off road, because I knew I was going to be coming up for some really different countries where there were no road surfaces. So I practiced all sorts of things. Then I went travelling on that bike around England. I went to places like the Isle of Wight, went travelling and touring, worked out what I needed, then started kitting out the bike for longer journeys. I did Europe for a month, and it did look bad in Europe because I travelled with my ex-girlfriend. So we had off-road, they were called dirt bags, off-road bags, one each side. She had one, I had the other. I had bags strapped on everywhere, toolboxes strapped on everywhere, and it's pretty scary because I had to leave first, and I ended up in Italy. And when she arrived by plane, because she wouldn't leave with me for some stupid reason, so when she arrived, she came out of the airport and she had a bag packed over her head. She looked like that guy in that picture with just this ridiculous backpack. And I said, "Well, where do you think that's going to go? We've already talked about this. I've got all the equipment. There's no space for this." She said, "Oh, it'll be all right." It's like, it wasn't all right. So I learned some hard lessons, and I talked to people who've travelled a lot more than me and were much cleverer, and they told me one important lesson to remember with bikes: you fill the space you've got. What space you have, you tend to fill it up, and it's totally true. You know, I travel with 15 litres each side, and I worked very hard on making sure I didn't carry too much. My bike had a few problems in terms of design. The rear subframe was made of a very soft aluminium because it was lightweight, because it was an off-road motorcycle. It was built to be very, very light. Still class leading today, but because of that I couldn't carry a lot of weight. So I had worked really hard at minimising the weight, carrying the weight as low down as possible, spreading it out. So when I ended up leaving, I think the bike was pretty well set up. I had no trouble on any road surface. Martin, the guy I travelled with, he had lots of trouble, but I didn't have any. We were okay. So learning to pack is a skill all by itself. It's very hard.
And which bike do you choose?
Well, I chose lots of different bikes. Originally I wanted to use a BMW 1200 GS, and I bought one, and it was crap. It was just awful. I bought a 2004, and that was the best of the lot, because after that they started building the bike cheaper, but charging more for it. So I had the 2004, but it started to go wrong in lots of ways, and I sort of realised this wasn't going to be the bike for me. So I switched out for the BMW 800, which was lighter and arguably cheaper to run. That didn't work out either because it got stolen. It was crap anyway. I tried a Triumph Tiger. That didn't work. That really didn't work. I hated it. I tried an Aprilia. I tried lots of different bikes, and I ended up going for a BMW 650cc, so a middleweight small bike, single cylinder, so it's a very simple engine to work on, and it was simple to understand. So basically I took advice from better travellers than me, people who'd been around the world and knew what they were talking about, and when we got to Pakistan it all came true in my head. We'd just done this horrendous travel across horrible surfaces, and we looked back and I realised that the only thing I cared about was that the back wheel kept turning. That was the only thing that mattered. And I chose a bike that wouldn't let me down. It would just keep going and keep going. I could repair it if I had to. I understood it, and it was cheap to buy, cheap to run. It used less than half the petrol my friend's bike used. So I used the BMW G650 X cross country, and it was fantastic. She never let me down. I let her down a few times, but she never let me down. She was a great bike.
You were rough on her?
The world is rough on her, yeah. I'm rough on bikes too. We left Pakistan one day and we crossed into India, and it was almost the whole day. It took us all morning, from really early in the morning, to get into India. And when we got through, there was these 4 other motorcycles, 2 Yamahas, 2 BMWs, all good choices, European bikers, and they were spotlessly clean. And I was with Martin and I said to him, look, totally clean Westerners' bikes. So we met the Europeans that owned them and said, oh, your bikes are really clean, what did you do? And we washed them. I said to Martin, why didn't we think of that? We didn't wash them at all. We were very rough on our bikes, yeah, we were hard on them.
I think it's the habit.
yeah, it's not much has changed. I mean, my wife would be able to tell you that. Yeah, not much has changed. Even my underwear hasn't changed.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, we're rough on bikes.
Yeah. And what difficulty did you meet during your travel?
Martin?
Your partner?
No, he was good as gold. When we first left, me and Martin's a big Polish guy with one thought in his head: go faster. That's all he can think of. I think that's all there is, space in his brain. Just go faster. And we had a few problems. When we first started traveling together, we did not get on. And one night we were in, I think it was Hungary or Serbia, it might be Serbia. And we were in a restaurant, and we were both on the computer, and we were tapping away on the computer. And I looked at him and he looked at me, and we were both on travel forums looking for somebody else to ride with, both of us. And we looked at each other and I said, right, you know what? Shut the computers down, let's go and have something to eat and drink, and we'll have a talk. And we agreed to leave an hour earlier in the morning, travel an hour longer, but go a little bit slower because my bike couldn't keep up with his. He had a 1000cc sports bike. And yeah, we didn't get on. And then about 2 or 3 days after that, and I can't even remember how, but suddenly we were like brothers. We were brothers. And it was only about 2 days after that that we met these European bikers in India. And we all went out and had a party, and they said, oh wow, you two, how long have you known each other? And we said, oh, a week, like a week. We really didn't know each other that well. So Yeah, we had a few problems getting to know each other, but once we cracked that nut, no problem. I think the biggest problem we had was paperwork. Neither of us were good at it. Getting the visas sorted out for different countries, that was hard. The hardest one was Pakistan. The Pakistani embassy was in London, and it was in this really, really expensive neighbourhood. And to give you an example, they had outside parked up, there was a Bugatti Veyron, gold-plated. You know, yeah, I know, it wasn't just the world's most expensive sports car, it was the world's most expensive sports car with gold on it. You know, so it was crazy. And then the Pakistan embassy was just a big tent. Just a tent in a muddy garden. It was crazy. First time I went there, I spoke to a guy and he gave me a hard time and he said, no, not giving you a visa, you come back another day. All right. So
is it visa on arrival?
No. This had to be planned in advance. Pakistan was really hard because Pakistan is a very dangerous war zone. They don't just let anybody in. I had to get invited in by a company. I had to pay the company to invite me, which is typical for tourists. There's no tourism. It's all very difficult. Then I went back and I spoke to a girl and she just said to me, what do you want? So I explained to her, well, look, we're coming from this country and we're going to this country. I can't exactly tell you what the dates are, but it will be within this gap. She said, well, how long are you going to be in? Maybe up to 3 weeks, but probably less. She went, right, so I can do this for you. And then to her, it wasn't about what she could do to stop us getting in, it was about what she could do to help. And once we spoke to her, all the problems went away. She was awesome, but the guy was just a dick. Iran, they were difficult. They had to give me the visa, there was no reason not to, but they kept sending me out for more pictures and they kept me waiting for hours. That took me all day. And you walk away with the impression, oh, Iran's going to be horrible. Couldn't be further from the truth. They were lovely, but it was just the visa office people weren't great.
I think it's just the way of people working.
People get a little power trip. Yeah, these government officers, they kind of feel like they're more important than they really are. And you get this all around the world. Bureaucracy. Bureaucrats are just the worst people. So I think probably that was the biggest problem. We had mechanical faults. Martin chose a KTM. KTM motorcycles have a reputation for being unreliable.
Oh.
Really unreliable. When I was trying to choose a bike, I took some parts into a KTM dealership to have work done. And one of the guys working there said to me, come around the back. He said, come and have a cigarette with me. So I don't smoke. He said, no, just come with me. So I went around the back and he had a cigarette. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to ride around the world. He went, don't buy a KTM. I said, why not? He said, it's not the right bike for you. They look good, they go very fast. He said, but they are not built to be very far away from a dealership. He said, don't buy one, it will not look after you. And when you hear that from a mechanic who, so I listened. Martin didn't. He chose the biggest, most powerful bike he could find. And when we got to India, the bike, it packed up. It wouldn't run anymore. So we spent hours in a field. We literally stripped his bike down in a field, trying to work on it, get it running. We struggled with it. We eventually couldn't get it going. We got him back on the road, and we worked out that we could only travel at night because it was cooler, and that wasn't fun. But we got all the way where we were going, and then I stopped in Thailand and he carried on. And when we had more time, I sat in a hotel, I Googled it, and we figured out that all it was a piece of gauze, like a little piece of metal that filters petrol. I said to him, rip it out. So he got in, he ripped it out, and he never had any problems with it again. But then when he got into Australia, he started having more problems with it. And last time I saw him, because he's been out to see us a few times, he said, you were right about the KTM. He said, I eventually sold it. I hated it. So we had mechanical problems with his bike. We had problems with petrol in some countries. My fuel economy got worse. At one point, the fuel was so bad, I couldn't get above 30 miles an hour. Just had no power. But we always kept going. We didn't have any problem with people. People were amazing everywhere we went, almost everywhere we went. We didn't have any serious accidents. We had a few near misses. But it was visas and paperwork that was probably the biggest problem.
During your travel, which country is the most beautiful for you?
The most beautiful? Well...
During the trip, I mean.
Yeah. Probably the most spectacularly beautiful is Nepal. Because you come into the bottom of Nepal and it's just a sort of border crossing from India. And it doesn't look anything special, but then to get to Kathmandu, you've got to go 4 kilometers up. You've got a 100-kilometer trek where you're going to go 4 kilometers up in the air. And the scenery was utterly amazing because you're riding around the inside of mountains. And as you go around a corner, there's Everest in the distance, you know, just this white cloud with the top of Everest sticking out of it. So that's utterly amazing. You know, that place humbles you. One of the most interesting countries was Iran, because again, we were through deserts and mountains and it was beautiful. Not in the same league as Nepal, but because it was a country under a completely different culture, it was fascinating. And the people were really lovely as well, which made it better because we were able to spend a bit of time getting to know the people. They would come and talk to us and we could sit with them, and that was pretty awesome. So I think Iran was as interesting as Nepal, but I think for just spectacular scenery and beauty, Nepal has got pretty much any country covered. You're just riding around mountains, it's spectacular.
What about people?
People?
Yeah, along your trip.
We were traveling, when you're on a motorcycle, you're traveling very fast. So you don't get a lot of time to interact. So a lot of our impressions about people comes from how they drive and what the food is like. And that's because that's what we deal with. So a lot of our assumptions maybe aren't fair, but the people we met, most of them were awesome. One time I was in Germany, and this was a different trip, when I was traveling for a month. Germany is really overcomplicated, and we couldn't find our way off the map, and we've been driving all day. And a woman pulled up to us in the car park, and I said, look, I'm trying to get to this place, can you help me on the map? And she said, oh no, it's really complicated, you won't find your way. So I said, right. And she went, so you follow me. So she went out of her way and took us to the, I mean, that was amazing. And that's pretty much what you get in most places. In Iran, we screwed up a lot in Iran, so we had to meet people, we had to go around getting help from people, and they were really generous, really lovely people. Really generous, lovely people who just wanted to help. We didn't have any money in Iran at all, and we were trying to get to the bank so we could get some money. We didn't know our way around. And we went into one place where there was 3 girls working there, and this was a tourist office, and we were just asking directions. And then they started getting money out, and Martin said to me, what are they doing? I said, I don't know. And he said, oh, we'll get you a taxi and we'll pay for it for you. And this was just, we'd never met them before, you know. We wouldn't take their money. That's funny as well. We wouldn't take their money. We said, no, we'll walk. And as we walked, someone started bibbing a horn at us, and it was a man from a bank that we'd just been into to see if we could get money from their bank. They said, no, you have to go to the main bank. And one of the guys jumped in his car and came out and gave us a lift. He said, no, jump in my car, I'll take you. That's what Iran was like. Another little anecdote about Iran, Martin blew a light bulb, so he wanted a new light bulb. So we sorted out our money problems, and we had a few hours to ourselves, so we went for a walk. He said, let's get a light bulb. Went into a first shop, and the guy said, oh, no, we haven't got a light bulb, and walked out. We went, oh, okay, so what do we do? And then he came back with a young lad and said, this man will take you to get a light bulb. So, oh, fantastic, thank you so much. So he took us to a kind of like a tiny sort of shopping mall full of places selling car parts. And so the guy went out the back, came out with a light bulb and said, free of charge, you're our guest. Would you mind waiting? I've sent some staff out to get cakes and tea. Just stay with us for a while, have a cup of tea and tell us about your journey. And that's what it was like. We tried to got on a bus and we tried to pay, and they went, oh no, you're our guest. You just ride for free. And everyone was like that.
During your trip, how many countries did you get cross?
Did we cross? We went through, well, I did 2 trips. We did a month in Europe, and then we went through back through Europe, through the Middle East, and into Asia. Altogether, we went through 23 countries.
And in which country?
Oh, I can't think of them to list them. Out from England, we went around Europe, Italy, Spain, Eastern Europe, went through Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary. We went back to Bulgaria, out to Turkey, from Turkey into Iran. Iran was quite big deal for us. Then Pakistan, India, Nepal, Thailand, but quite a few other little countries along the way, like Austria and yeah, quite a few other countries as we travelled around. I can't remember all of them, to be honest. The problem with Europe is the countries are all very much alike and they're very safe. It's not very exciting. I know it seems exciting to maybe like an American student who goes backpacking around Europe. It seems great, but when you come from England, Europe's the same. And when you go around it, it's so safe, it's a little bit dull. You know, you think you're going to have an adventure, and you go around Europe for a month, and it's not an adventure. It's all very much the same. So going around that was great fun, and I wouldn't have changed it. But we were very excited to get out to like the Middle East, where things were different. Yeah.
So if people want your advice, I mean for the next generation that people want to travel like you, what advice, what warning or anything that they need to be prepared before they start the trip?
If you're going somewhere like Europe, then you don't need any warnings. It's very safe, it's very easy. My one big regret is I didn't do this earlier. You know, I held back. I did one shit job after another. I wasted my time. I like a lot of people, you know, I settled into a life in England. I tried to make something. I tried to play the rules, you know, and it didn't work. And I always wanted to travel, and I never did. And looking back, I don't really know why I didn't, you know. And so my advice, if it's something you're passionate about, get up and do it, because you only get one life, and that clock is always ticking. It's the best thing I ever did, and I did it late, and there was no reason to do it late. I could have got off and done it a lot sooner. I was doing it for staying for my family and all the other reasons, but there's always an excuse not to do something, and the simple fact is, I should have done it. So I would say my advice is to just get on and do it. And I guess the other piece of advice, because Martin had the same problem. He'd arranged to go travelling with lots of people. I had lots of people I was going to go travelling with, and in the end, me and Martin, we just met in a travel forum, and we got to become friends, and we decided to do it together. Everybody let us down, so don't let other people hold you back, because a lot of people will tell you they're going to do it, they don't do it. You're the only person that can get up and do it. You're the only person that can change your life. You've got to do it for yourself. It's not anyone else's business. You've got to do it. Yeah.
So after you finish your trip, then you decide to write your book?
Actually, no. When I was traveling, there was a travel blog website, and both me and Martin wrote on that. I made a point of writing 3 pages of text every day, so that I could turn it into a book if I wanted to. And I posted the blog every day, and I left it at that, and I wasn't really that bothered. But some of my friends back in the UK, because I was already writing by then, kept pestering me to put this into a book, and I didn't think it was worth doing, because at the end of the day, this was something that I enjoyed doing. It was just a hobby for me. I didn't think that anybody else would be interested. So I thought, all right, well, people are pestering me to do it, and I had this summer break where I was doing summer school in the mornings, and I had all afternoons. And as legend has it, I wrote 3 novels. I just thought, this is all the time I'm ever going to get. Let's write some books. So I wrote 3 novels in 6 weeks, and this was one of them. I put it all together, and I self-published it first. I put it out on Amazon, and I posted it for my friends. I said, there it is, there's the book. And it went out, and it did well. It started doing really well. For some reason, a lot of people were buying it, a lot of people were liking it. One guy emailed me back and said he went travelling because of me, and he bought the same motorbike because of me.
So okay, you inspired people?
I inspired him. I inspired him to use the same motorcycle to do the same journey. I said, well, maybe you haven't read the book properly, mate, because I'm a fucking idiot. You know, I screwed up a lot. But yeah, he copied me. A couple of my friends gave me some really nice reviews on Amazon. Maybe that pushed it up a bit. But it did really well. It did so well that Road Dog Publications, who publish motorcycle non-fiction, approached me to publish the book. We rewrote the book again. We took it back down to the bones and we rewrote it, corrected it, got it up to date. Because as a writer, I'm always improving, and I wrote that quite a long time ago, and I worked hard to make myself a better writer. Made the book as good as I could make it, and we republished it. And that came out a few years ago, but unfortunately it came out just as the lockdowns hit. And yeah, the first month it came out, it did really well, and it was off to a great launch because it had been doing really well on Amazon before. But then all the bookshops shut down, all the advanced sales got reversed, and it's kind of laid sort of static. Last time I checked on it on Amazon, it had one bad review because Amazon does a lot of weird stuff with formatting. So when you publish the book, Amazon kind of randomizes the format. So sometimes it will break words in half and scroll them, and it looks a mess. So as an indie publisher myself, we didn't publish this book. This is somebody else, but we have the same issue. We have people complain, "Oh, it looks terrible." When you buy it on Amazon, Amazon has messed it up, and they blame us for it, like it's our fault. You know, like it's a bit like blaming the postman for sending you something in the wrong colour. It's not his fault. So we get a lot of bad feedback from that, and one piece of bad feedback on a book kills it. So it's not sold really well. Not much is. My publisher emailed me and said, no, it's not selling very well at the moment. One of the books my publisher he said it's a woman who wrote one book, quit her job, and is now touring America promoting the book. Can you do that? No, I can't. I can't quit my job. I can't quit my life, come over to America and spend 5 years touring the States to promote one novel. No, I can't do that. So at the moment it'll probably stay where it is, and maybe it'll pick up or maybe it won't. But realistically, this was a journey that happened 10 years ago now, and a lot has changed. Unfortunately, we went through Iran and we were allowed off the leash, which means we got through and we could go anywhere we wanted to. We had to be out by a certain date, but we could do what we wanted. Now things have changed, unfortunately, and from what I heard, Westerners from England and countries in Europe now have to have an escort all the way through Iran, which takes away all the fun of it. Things are changing. It's getting a lot harder to do what we did. We saw it at a great time before it got really bad.
So you just did it in a good time.
Maybe the last good time. Yeah. It's certainly getting a lot worse now. So, yeah.
So how many days did you?
That's a lot of smoke.
Yeah, that's why the sound is. How many days did you spend to write that book?
To write the book?
Yeah.
Well, as I said, we travelled from London to Bangkok was 31 days. So we travelled pretty fast. And every day I wrote 3 pages. So it was probably 2 weeks to collect up all of the notes and just lay them all out and go through them again and rewrite them, change them all to the right tense. Everything had to be moved to the past tense because when we wrote them, it was all in the present tense. So we had to change everything to the past tense, change everything to the first person perspective. So clean it all up, tidy it, add a few jokes, add some things we'd forgotten. You know, sometimes you just forget the details, but in a book, it's all about the details. You know, you're telling everyone the story, adding a few things that we missed, just getting it so that it was ready to be a book, not just a blog. There's a difference between a blog and a book. So maybe 2 weeks to put it together into something that was good.
It was not long, 2 weeks.
I write pretty fast. If you go to my website, you what's it called? The horror book we wrote, Night Shift. From the concept, when we finished organising the concept, we wrote a 140,000 word book, and that probably took 3 weeks. So we write pretty fast. And that was to the end of the first draft, and then it goes off to Seth for editing and whatever. Seth edited every version of Those Two Idiots. He edited as well. So, and then it went off to a professional editor when it got picked up by Road Dog, and it actually came back from the professional editor at Road Dog with new mistakes.
Oh.
Yeah, I found new grammar mistakes that we'd actually fixed. Now, whether that's just because they changed it to American English or if there was some other bug or error, I don't know. But it came back with new problems. So And I just left them in there. So when you sign up to another publisher, you do sign away a lot of your rights. He's got all the rights for distribution. So basically, I just gave it to him, and that was it. That's done. His problem.
I see. I think I don't. That's all that I want to know about the book.
Okay. Did you even want to know that?
Can I? And I don't know what to ask anymore.
Just close.
Yeah. Okay. So this is about the bike journey that he did.
We're so professional. Edgeverse, the edge of reason, the edge of nonsense.
Yeah, so you can see, and then I hope this video will help you in case that if you want to travel by bike like that, then you can pick up some experience from him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Or a lack of experience. One more thing before we close. People call motorcycle travel the achievable dream, and it really is. It's very, very achievable. Give or take closed borders and pandemics, it really is something that anybody can do. One time when I was living in Phnom Penh, I was contacted by another author who was travelling around the world with his wife. They were in their late 50s, both travelling on BMWs like mine, and we met for a drink, and yeah, they've been travelling the world. Slightly older people, husband and wife team on their own bikes. They're going around the world, still are. They're doing fantastically. They write books as well. This is something anyone can do. It's the achievable dream. You can do it. Anyone can do this. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.